Welcome back, folks, to the conversation series on Get a Grip on Lighting. Today, Henrik Clausen of Fagerholt Academy interviews Rob Hill, the sales director and co-founder of HI Lighting SA in Australia. Originally from the UK, Rob moved to Australia in 2005, worked nationally in the UK for Hagemeyer, electrical wholesaler, which gave him an introduction to lighting. In 2007, he was quickly promoted to a state management role. He set up HI Lighting with a business partner in 2010, which rapidly grew to be the largest commercial lighting supplier in South Australia. He has a passion for good lighting and still finds it incredibly inspiring. So he's still into lighting after many years in it. He's being interviewed by Henrik Clausen on this show. But before we get into that, Greg, we got to go to KEYSTONETECH.com. That's KeystoneTech.com, brother. Light made easy.
That's right. And they do make it easy now with all their Kelvin temperature, wattage selectable fixtures. You got recessed cans, you have strip lights, you have high bays, you have troffers, you have, what else is there? Wall packs, name it, man. And they've got it.
Bing,
Keystone
bong,
is
bing,
your LED
everything.
place. Check it out.
Go to KeystoneTech.com, the easy folks. Light made easy. That's right. KEYSTONETECH.com. And of course, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, the patron of all of this. That's right. We got a convention coming up, September 13th to 16th, hosted by Tom Butters, the one and only. So see ya in Dallas, Texas. ArcLight's joining up with us September 13th to 16th. Right now, we got Henrik Clausen, Rob Hill on the Conversation Series.
Hi guys, I'm Henrik Clausen from Fagerholt Lighting Academy, and it's cool to be here again. This time I have with me Rob Hill, who is sales director of highlighting in Adelaide in Australia. He is probably more like you guys than I am. Most of all, he speaks a better English than I do, and the second is that he's closer to being a wholesaler, a consultant, a guy who pushes lighting in Australia. And I thought it might be cool for many of you guys in the US and Canada to catch up with one of your fellow mates from Australia. So today my discussion or my conversation, hopefully with Rob, will not go so much about research and scientific stuff, but more like the Australian market. So maybe you can pick up a few tips from Rob, and maybe Rob can pick up a few tips or share with us what he is doing in Australia. So that's why it will be more conversation about how business is and how the market and how things are evolving in Australia. Welcome, Rob, and I hope you're up to a brief and open discussion about how life is down there.
Yeah, thanks, Henrik, and looking forward to it, mate.
Could you share a little bit about yourself, Rob? Where do you come from, and what kind of guy are you?
Well, I moved to Australia nearly 16 years ago now. Originally from the UK, as I'm sure you can tell from my accent, although I have got a bit of a hybrid UK-Aussie accent, I'm told. I have been in the lighting industry in Australia since 2007. And we started HI Lighting in 2010, myself and my business partner. And we've grown to become the largest commercial lighting supplier in South Australia. So we're pretty proud of that through a lot of hard work and dedication and getting the right people around us. We've got a great team.
Could you share a little bit about your business model? Who are you addressing?
The business model is interesting, and I think there may be some fairly big differences between our business and a lot of businesses across the globe. Our main customer base, or my sales team's customer base, is engineers, architects, and interior designers, and our route to market is predominantly through specification. So in terms of commercial builds, hospitals, schools, aged care, etc., we communicate and meet with the architects, interior designers and engineers on the projects, and we solve their lighting problems, give them solutions, and hopefully get our product on the plans. We don't actually conduct a financial transaction though with those guys, because financially we sell the product through the electrical wholesale network to electrical contractors. So the electrical wholesalers, I suppose, act as our bank. They're the ones that order the product, and the challenge is to keep the product as specified, which is becoming increasingly difficult with the influence of cheap products from places like China.
So you are familiar with the term value engineering?
Absolutely, very much so. And it's I think the world or the lighting world is becoming ever more challenging on a day-to-day basis in that respect.
Yeah, we see a lot of things in the different markets across Europe where you're coming to an agreement, maybe even with the building owner, the people who wants to live there, the architect, the lighting designer, and then somebody else at the end of the food chain changes it to something that really doesn't live up to the spec. Why do you think that is possible?
I think I can speak for what I know in our market here in Australia, and that is that the clients are often financially driven. They see or they have a large cost saving waved in front of their nose, and they don't necessarily, through lack of knowledge or education, they don't necessarily understand what they're agreeing to. The electrical contractors here often have the ear of the client, and the electrical contractor will tell them that they would recommend that they take the saving. And even though the electrical engineer recommends that the client sticks with the specified product, when the client has a large saving put in front of them, it often is that will sway them to go down the route of a cheap, inferior product. And the disappointment, Henrik, is that most of the builders and electrical contractors here, we have a 12-month defect period. So if they sell them a product that is, poor quality, inferior, all they have to do is ensure that it lasts for 12 months. And once they get over that 12-month period, then their obligation ceases and they don't have to worry about it anymore.
That's a tough one to fight. We have what we call in Denmark, we have a 5-year inspection, so that you actually have 1 year full liability, and then after 5 years you should still make sure that everything is functioning, or at least not be dangerous to people in any way. But there is this 5 years sort of point that you're waiting for where everything actually must be in order, and that helps us actually quite a lot. But what
I
do
wish
you think?
I wish. Sorry.
Please, no, please.
No, I was going to say I wish we had a similar thing here. It's very frustrating when inferior products go onto a project, and I'm passionate about quality, and I think most clients they understand quality, but they don't understand the balance between quality and price. And I think with choosing a large saving, there's got to be a compromise, and I don't think many end users understand that compromise in terms of quality and longevity.
I don't know if you know, but I'm actually teaching now for 5 years at the university in Copenhagen in lighting design, and before that I had a little extra job teaching at the School of Engineering, and I always brought products in there, samples. I bought an expensive one, I bought a cheap one in, and very often it was the first time that these people actually touched a fixture, because I think one of our challenges is that people touch their coffee cups, their car steering wheel, but they don't touch the light. So it's hard to get a feel of quality if you don't examine the problem or the product on the table. So we urge lighting designers and architects, engineers to actually ask for a sample, to put it apart, have a look at it. And I know in the UK, where you originally came from many years ago, they're actually being more and more specific. They are even doing their own heat measurements on the components. They are very thorough in the investigations so that they feel a little bit more powerful towards their client and help them argue that the problem or the product is actually really good. But it's a challenge for young people, especially when both the seller and the buyer never have had a fixture in their hand in their entire life. It's just something sitting in the ceiling. How do you think we can do better?
I think there's a combination of things we can do, Henrik. Educate the end users more, and that's quite challenging, certainly for us here, but we are attempting to do that. I think as well, as you say, if people can actually compare fittings and look at samples, the originally specified fitting and the cost-saving alternative, maybe some people would realize that the quality is not there. But it is challenging, and particularly when you've got engineers that want to stick as specified and the client goes against their wishes and takes the saving and the lower grade product anyway. It is very, very challenging, and I think some products out of China is actually is pretty good now. I have to say, but there's still a lot of generic, cheap product flooding into our market, and it makes it very, very challenging.
Yeah, I get your point absolutely, Rob, and I understand that. That's why we will be trying to support lighting designers in getting better argumentation, because I think the local lighting tradition, even though if the product comes from China, they need to have local people who know your rules, to know your usual demands, your traditional lighting styles and stuff like that. And that's why it's cool. I see you also have lighting designers employed alongside your sales team. So how do you benefit from that?
Hugely, Henrik. I think the engineers appreciate the knowledge base that we can draw on, and they often use us to do their lighting designs for them, because they're often a lot of our engineers are under resourced, so it's useful for them to have that ability to farm out the lighting design to us. Our lighting designers are hugely experienced, and we can draw upon our portfolio of products and offer the right product for the right scenario.
If you should make a mix and say, how much do you think the value adding doing the lighting design, doing the planning versus the quality of the product will be? Is it 50-50 or is it like 80-20? How would you think where does the important lie in your market?
Interesting question. That's a tough one. I'd love to say that if we do the lighting design, that we would be able to have a much bigger influence over the quality. And initially we can, but there are so many links in the chain, Henrik, and so many hurdles to overcome prior to getting the order. Even if we do the lighting design, there's no guarantee. It is I think an easier process to retain the specification, and having done the design, the engineer is probably more obligated or feels more obligated to back us when it comes to alternatives. But even so, I think ultimately for a lot of people it is still very much dollar driven, and when they see a saving put in front of them, they will want to take it.
Yeah, I guess some of these guys drive Mercedes and BMW, and they probably wouldn't have a Hyundai, even though it also has 4 wheels and a steering wheel in there. So it's a little bit about, sometimes you just say, "Oh, I just want a car." No, the guys who say that, they're buffs like us who love cars and would actually probably prefer something else. Well, I think we should just park that. I know it's a tough one. So I would like to talk to you about the next generation of lighting people like yourself and myself. Now I'm massively older than you are, so so I guess it's how do you think about the next generation of lighting professionals? Where do they come from? Where can we find them?
We have asked ourselves the same question, and I personally have got some strong views on this. I think there are a number of places that can. There are a number of places that I think we can look for the future lighting professionals. I think certainly in my team we have a an architectural interior designer. So that's her background, but she has a real passion for lighting. So I think in terms of design, there are some options there. But from my point of view, first and foremost, I think someone that has a sales background or has a sales personality, I think for me that is an absolute priority, because you can teach technical knowledge, but you can't teach interaction, people skills, and personality. So I think for me that is the key to it. And the best lighting professionals don't necessarily have to have a specific lighting or design background.
That's very interesting, and I agree with you for a long way down that road. Because what I experienced is that when I took my degree as an electrical engineer, there was a mandatory lighting course. We just had to take it. The School of Architecture in Denmark also had a mandatory and an additional one. The mandatory was daylight, then there was additional electric lighting, but both of them are gone. So today we can have a team where a customer is sitting with an architect and an engineer, and nobody knows anything about it. That's why I'm so happy to see that you say you have an architect who is actually passionate about it, because what we think we need to find is these people who think this is funny, but there's a big distance between people. They want to do something else, do want to do apps or whatever they want to develop. But once you understand that you can actually contribute to people's value in their lives, if that's what triggers people, you can make elderly people more safe, people recover faster in hospitals and all that stuff. It's about, do you find that in your initial in hiring interview, or where do you go about it? Now you said you had this architectural design. How do you feel that that's the right one? Is that only interpersonal skills?
No, it's not just interpersonal skills, but that plays a big part in it. But I think certainly we've recently rebuilt our sales team, and we looked within our industry for individuals that we may be interested in, and there was no one that we could find that had the experience, but also had the interpersonal skills that we were looking for,
No.
that matched our company ethos. So we looked outside the industry, and we have recently employed 2 people that have no real lighting background, but
Mm.
have great interpersonal skills, have sales skills, and we're teaching those guys the fundamentals of lighting, and it's working very, very well. And they're one in particular has done amazingly well in a very short space of time because he's very good with the customers. He's open-minded and willing to learn, and it's a daily discovery for him in terms of what you can do with lighting, how it can impact a project, and the difference it makes for the people working in that space.
That's a very good point, and you actually asked a couple of my next questions on that, because one of the things that I'm faced with in my job is that if we look at the future trend analysis, it seems that persons around 25 to 30 years now will most likely stay with us for, statistically seen, 3.5 years. And to me, I've been with Fagerhult for 25 years, and it's something like we've built our way of teaching and our traditions that people stay with us like forever, and they just pick up on the road. But we can't really do that if we have to accept that young people probably will move on. So we have to get them up and running. The rubber has to hit the road pretty quick. And I'm a little bit nervous about that balance. How do you think about that?
Yeah, that's again a tricky question, and finding getting the longevity out of the younger generation is very challenging across the board, and particularly with the current climate, of course. I mean, our unemployment here is so low. Finding good people at the best of times is very hard, but even more so now. It's almost impossible to find that right person, or you have to put in a tremendous amount of effort, to get anybody of any caliber. I think, yes, if you can get someone with a design background and they've got a flair and a passion for lighting, then you would hope that they would want to, nurture that passion and stay within the industry. And we've certainly found, Henrik, in our 12 years in business, our staff turnover has been relatively low, even with younger people, and I think that's really down to culture and the way you look after your people and your team.
I would like to connect this a little bit to this home work balance, because I think that's happened something after the COVID. It's been nasty for most people, but after all, we have started to accept that people want to work more from home. I don't know if that's the same with you guys, but I see at least that the younger people here, they really enjoy having the 2 days per week where they can work from home and they're in the office 3 days, because it seems that has a certain value here with us. Do you think that's a tool you have in your toolbox as well?
Yeah, definitely, Henrik. For us, our mantra is family comes first. That's always been the case, and I think if there's a high degree of importance with work-life balance, and people now find it much easier if there's flexibility within the workplace. And working from home is, for me anyway, certainly from my experiences, has been very productive. And I found my my workload. I've managed to get through things a lot more quickly at home. So for us, yes, having that flexibility with our team, being able to work from home has been a real eye-opener, really.
We also observed with us here at the company in Sweden, we observed that some people actually thrive and do become a lot more efficient and deliver better on time when working from home than sitting next to the colleagues having coffee and donuts all the time. So it's a bit what you thrive about. But I was traveling in Ireland a couple of weeks ago together with Jason, one of my colleagues in Ireland, and people were utterly happy to get visitors. We are so much lacking to be able to shake hands, to give each other a hug or punch each other on the shoulder. So what do you think, if you take the COVID glasses and your customer relationship in Australia, has that changed in any way?
Yeah, I think it has, and I think there's definitely a yearning for reconnection with people, on a personal level, and particularly for us here in Australia, everything was shut down for a long period of time. We closed our borders. We had very little movement of people. Even into travel was severely curbed. So the customer interactions were extremely challenging,
Mm.
and now there seems to be a real desire for most of our customers to reconnect. But also, one of the things we pride ourselves in is taking our customers to the various our various suppliers and showing them their factories and how the luminaires are made. And we've not been able to do that for over 2 years, and now that's starting to happen again. Things are starting to open up. We're starting to get some trips scheduled, and people are really keen to travel again. And I think that's the other thing. If we offer someone the opportunity to go and see a factory, whether it be in another state or overseas, they're jumping at the chance now.
Yeah, we feel the same way, and we recognize that. So there's probably not that big a difference between that. Now, if we look at the Australian market, are you guys up to starting pushing, or have you started pushing circadian lighting and human-centric lighting and that stuff? And if so, how does people react on that in your market?
Yeah, absolutely. We have been pushing, circadian lighting for the individual, lighting for health. There's certainly a push within our industry for better lighting solutions in relation to the occupants within the space. One of the challenges, Henrik, we've found is that most people accept the benefit of circadian lighting and tunable lighting. However, again, it's that old story. When it comes down to paying for it, the concept is great, but then when people look at the dollars, often it is stripped out of the job, and it's very frustrating. There are some jobs that have gone ahead and have tunable and circadian lighting solutions within the project, but there's a great many that have stripped that back and deleted it. And yeah, it's disappointing that I don't think the take up has been as good as I expected, and I hope that changes really.
Yeah, well, I think we're probably a little bit better off than you are on that, because we tried to argue a lot about the benefits it will give. I noted two things you said. I would like to go back to the first one. You said individual solutions. What do you mean by that?
Well, I was really more talking about the benefit for the people in the space, and I think more than anything, I think there are studies that have been done in terms of productivity and the benefit of people feeling better in the workplace, working more effectively, and it would be preferable to see more of that. If we were able to get more studies done and better uptake of circadian lighting in general.
Yeah. I was thinking about when people were staying away from home, or sorry, staying away from work and working from home. We actually, at least in our part of the world, have the obligation to make sure that they are still under our safety. They need to have good ergonomics, nice tables, chairs, and so on. But what do we do about the lighting? Has there been any discussion in your market about should we do office lighting at home for people, or should we do more homely lighting at the office? Or what? How about that balance? Have you discussed that?
Not really, no. And there's been very little discussion about improving people's lighting at home in terms of people working at home. I think there is a trend here for making workspaces more inviting and more homely. So yes, I think there's a bit of a trend there, but no, we've not really seen anything in terms of home lighting. And it's interesting you say that. So that's something that you found has happened in Denmark or in Europe in general.
No, it's mostly in Scandinavia, and I've seen it. There's been different initiatives. You know, IKEA made a kit where you can buy a table, a chair, and a table, and something, but there's no light included in that. And it's like that's pretty good because then we could supply the lighting. But it's more if, and some people get a check for 500 or 500 euros, and they should go and buy something. But it's not really a wholehearted try. It's more like we have to do something. So I was just wondering if you were ahead and had thought about that as a general for employees or employers in Australia.
No, not really. It's like I say, it's not really something that we've found as cropped up to any degree that I'm aware of.
No.
And I think it's certainly worth maybe exploring that.
Oh. Do you remember many years ago we had a tagline? I think you were on that when you and I talked live in Australia, and we had this that we wanted to ask the customer only one question, just to ask them what is it that you want to achieve. And I really like that idea because it gives the customer time to think if they want something really cheap, something really good, something fancy design. But it's becoming really difficult with human-centric lighting because people in our market says we want human-centric lighting, and you can just say, yeah, that didn't really answer the question. It's just what do you want to achieve with it. So when I'm trying to teach my people here, and when we are trying to push the European market towards human-centric lighting, it's imperative for people to understand that they can't get it all. Have you had that discussion in your market that, or are people just using human-centric lighting as a buzzword that they just want better lighting or something else?
I think there's a push for better lighting, in certain aspects of our industry. Certainly, we're always pushing for better lighting solutions, and human-centric, is something that we will always try and, push as part of the conversation. It's. Sorry, what was the question again, Henrik?
No, it was more about if people ask for human-centric lighting, do you then counter them and say, what is it that you want to achieve? Because people sometimes think they can get everything by saying human-centric lighting. Do you experience that?
Okay, yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from. Sorry.
Sure.
I think there is a misconception with human-centric lighting that it is it's something that can be everything to everybody, or it can solve many issues. And I think people don't necessarily understand how it works. And I think there is there's still a lot of teaching and learning to be done in terms of our industry as a whole, to give people that education and knowledge, and to expand the information that's out there on circadian lighting in general. And I think there's still a lot of, I think there's to a degree, there's a certain amount of confusion out there as to what it can do.
Yeah, I agree with that. So it's a complex thing to teach, because when we've had challenges in just telling people that there are differences in products, now there are also differences in what you can achieve with the product. It doesn't make it exactly easier. Now, Rob,
No,
I
it
would
doesn't.
now I would like to wrap up. And what do you think? What has been? I know you're successful because I've known you for many years. But what do you think HI Lighting's actually success is? What is the main cause behind the success you've had in Adelaide?
I think, Henrik, that's a question that requires a number of answers.
Carry on.
Fundamentally, thanks. I think fundamentally it is it's having a number of solutions to offer people, our customer base, a number of different lighting solutions and options. So it's great to have multiple options for whatever the customer is looking for. I think primarily, Henrik, there are plenty of competitors, in terms of other lighting companies out there, but there are few people that can offer the complete service that we can offer, as you mentioned earlier, in terms of lighting design. I think the other thing that has always worked for us is very high levels of customer service. I think nowadays finding anybody that offers consistently good customer service is challenging. And so we have built our business around our team, and we've had a solid team over the last 12 years. There have been one or two changes, but overall the team has been pretty solid. And I suppose, Henrik, it's quite in some respects, it's quite simplistic, the answer, and that is giving people what they want, and always meeting their expectations, and making their projects stand out. And I think that's where most people want memorable standout projects, and I think if you offer them the right lighting solution, that's what they get.
I get that, and that also sort of answered one of my final questions, because I was wondering how you manage to get what we call repeated business, that it's the same people who come back. And I think you actually put that very nicely in perspective. You said that you had a number of solutions, you had multiple solutions, but do you ever tell a customer that, sorry sir, I can't do that, it's better if you go to a competitor? Because sometimes we get that feedback. It's better to be clear that somebody else has a range or a product for a certain use that would be better. And I know only from Danish experience, and Denmark is a very small world, that some of the architects said it's their first filter when they get a new employee in from a company and they ask them about something they know they can't do. Then they hope they will answer, sorry, we don't have a product in our range that can do that. Very few are so lucky to have all the products in the range that they can do that. But do you use that or experience that kind of strategy in your market?
Thankfully, not very often. We do, unlike a lot of our competitors, we have a huge range that we promote, and we've built the range based on our knowledge of the market and the expectations of what the customers want. There are occasions, though, yeah, you're right, where we can't offer a solution. It is frustrating, particularly for me in sales. You never want to miss or lose an opportunity. However, if it means that sometimes you have to give some ground and let the customer know that unfortunately you can't help them on this occasion, but hey, you're aware of this product or you're aware of this range that is what they're looking for, then certainly we would have no qualms in suggesting that they go down that road. And yeah, we have done that from time to time. Fortunately, it doesn't happen that often, but we're happy to do that if we have to, because I think that shows professionalism.
I think it does. You're so right. I'm through with most of my questions. Now I just need to get the paragliding questions out. Are you still active paragliding?
I am, mate. Yes, I'm still flying as much as I can. I free fly, and I also fly now with a motor with a big fan on my back, powered paragliding, and that's opened the world of flying up to a whole new level for me. It's like, I suppose, 3D flying, Henrik, because where I'm restricted with my free flying to coastal locations or where the thermals are, with the motor you can pretty much go where you want. So it's awesome to be able to experience new scenery and to be able to fly places that I've never flown before.
I get that. I got my glider license recently, and
we have
two parallel strokes on our airport, and the other one is now used by paragliders, where they actually winch one up with a wire, and they release about 600 meters height. And it's amazing to just see them go up, vanish, and then maybe come back with a bus 4 hours later. So it's really must be ultimate freedom, and I envy you a little bit on that.
Thanks, mate. And yeah, it is. And I've been involved in the sport for nearly 10 years. I absolutely love it. It's an amazing sport. It's great social scene in terms of the other pilots, and I still get a kick out of it after all these years. It's it's an awesome thing to do.
And you're immersed in what's it called? You're sort of completely surrounded by light when you're up there. So I guess it's
the
same
are,
whether
mate.
you're at work or when you're flying. So Rob, do you have anything you wanna share with us here before we sign off?
Henrik,
I know it's very late.
It is. It is quite late. But yeah, I just want to say, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I hope I've given the guys that watch this some sort of insight into what we do here in Australia. We are sort of tucked out the way, even though we're a big place. We're a little bit out the way, so it's good to have the opportunity to speak to people around the world. And I think, mate, we're always a little bit behind Europe in terms of our trends, and that's certainly the case with lighting. So I'm hoping that we continue to build on the human-centric side of things, and light, continue to promote lighting for well-being. And it's great to see the new concepts and the flare, the design flare coming out of Europe. And we hope that in the future we can continue to grow our business and to promote lighting, good lighting, and more than anything, educate.
That's a super cool statement. Thank you very much, Rob, and thank you for taking the time. And understand if you're eager to jump to bed, it's probably 11:30 your time now almost. So thank you very, very much for sharing some Australian insights with us. I appreciate it a lot. Hope to see you soon, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Henrik. Good to see you, mate, and really appreciate your time.
You got to go to KEYSTONETCH.com, especially after that conversation between Rob Hill and Henrik Clausen. Folks, why do you use Keystone every day, Greg?
Because it's easy. Light made easy. You know, they give you the
Ooh.
color selectable, wattage selectable, and peace of mind knowing that it's a Keystone driver. 5 years from now, what goes wrong? Their driver, Keystone's going to have it, and they can cross it, and they know it's theirs. A lot of other companies you buy from, it's some made-up company that you'll never be able to find that driver again, and then you got to try to resource it and figure it out, and you can't. And not only fixtures, they have all the retrofit stuff you need too. If you just want to tube it up. Keystone's got it.
Ooh, that's right. Go to KeystoneTech.com. Keeping it easy. They always got your back. KEYSTONETCH.com. And again, proud members of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, where lighting means business. We're going to Dallas, Texas, sucker. September 13th to 16th, Dallas Market Center. Be there, be square, Greg. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's hosted by the superstar Tom Butters. Coming in hot. Superman, Tom Butters. That's right. Check it out. Go to NAILD.org and register for that. Of course, Ellis Evolve. What are you doing? You don't have your people in Ellis Evolve? Come on, man. That's the baddest, biggest, craziest education program that ever came along to help out distributors, right? We even teach you how to cut and measure a lens. That's right. All that weird stuff. We're bringing it hot. So go to NAILD.org. Join us. Take Ellis Evolve. See you at the convention. And, of course, many thanks out to Rob Hill and Henrik Clausen for sharing their time on Get a Grip on Lighting Conversation Series. Thanks for listening.